My boyfriend is pressuring me into his fetish. So my boyfriend, M31, and F29, I have a less traditional relationship. We've been dating almost 3 years. When we were first talking, he told me about his fetish and we had an open conversation about it. When we got more serious, he and I decided that he should see a professional for his fetish. We did some research and met a sex worker that was experienced in his fetish and others. I've met her quite a few times and it's understood that this is a business relationship and my boyfriend is her client. That scratch being itched for him, our relationship was perfect. Sex was amazing, he's so loving and caring towards me and I really see myself spending my life with him. Things changed during the pandemic. The sex worker decided for safety reasons for both her and her clients that she'd stop seeing them in person and only focus on her online content. At first, we were fine, but in December he got really pushy and trying to persuade and bargain with me into doing his fetish. I can't. It makes me physically ill to where I feel nauseous. I've told him no and that he needs to figure out another way to get himself off in that way. He got upset at me and said it's impossible unless he has a partner. I've been sleeping in the guest room for the last few nights because he tried initiating it while we were already intimate. I'm setting my boundaries, but it's frustrating he's not respecting them and no longer respecting because his need to get off in a certain way is more important than my feelings. I kind of want to break up over this, but he's been perfect up until this. I'm so lost on what to do. Any advice would be helpful. He's been perfect with you because he's never had to go without before, and this is what he's like without it. It sucks, but he's showing you that his fetish is more important than you. This has been present since the beginning of your relationship. He told you straight up when you met in hopes of getting you to do it. The fact that he's trying to force it in you is an alarming red flag. I'd be wary of having sex with anyone who tries to sneak in something they know I hate. That's a form of rape or at least sexual assault. He knows better. He's not confused, he just thinks he can just do it and you'll get over it even if you hate it. Or hey, in the heat of the moment she'll just let it happen. It's disgusting. I didn't see it like that at first, but you're right. When it happened I felt so betrayed and second to his needs. It's like he wasn't thinking about me at all. It's a lot to process. Okay, since you've shared it's blood play/knife play, here's what might be a helpful story about that in particular. A close friend, also my roommate, was dating a guy who was really into it. He wanted to cut people with knives and razors during sex and foreplay. He was kind of obsessed with it. He did some very light stuff with him, but it wasn't enough. So he started pushing her to get drunk, like super drunk, and would do it to her without her consent after he was also denied access to former partners or sex workers when they started seeing each other exclusively. Eventually I had an intervention after a horrifying incident. She came home late, fell into bed. In the morning I was behind her in the hallway and the back of her robe was sheer. It was covered in cuts. Like, he had made a fucking design on her back with razor cuts. It can be pretty painless, so all she knew was that her back felt kind of tight and weird. She took off her robe and he had cut her all over. I have seen some shit in my life, but watching a woman realize, with growing surprise, that her body had been mutilated was one of the worst. She was so deep into that relationship that she didn't leave him after that. And because she now had so much experience with razors and so much humiliation and numbness, she started self-harming. It continued for about 10 years, though she got out of the relationship about a year after that incident. I also have some friends who are sex workers and most of the absolutely hate and refuse to work with biters, even if they do more extreme or simulated stuff. They tend to be violent and dangerous and don't respect boundaries. They often get blacklisted after pushing it. He isn't just pressuring you, he physically attempted it whilst you were intimate despite you having told him absolutely not. How can you trust him again? ? I don't think I can trust him, which hurts. I got a lot to think about. Straight up, He either needs to find a different partner, one that will participate in his fetish, or just restrain himself to wait. No sexual fetish is that important that it can't wait a few months. You should already be his personal hero for letting him meet up with a sex worker. That's already way more accommodating than most partners would be. Just to enforce this, and make it a bit more personal, you are allowing me to see a sex worker to act out certain fantasies of mine, which most people would see as cheating. I am also paying her with money that I could spend on you, or at least as, reducing the budget that is available to the both of us. Obviously in return, I will make sure that the sex between you and me will be as satisfying as you could ever want it to be, including not pressuring you into doing stuff you don't want to. Do you really want to be in a relationship where your happiness is contingent on the availability of a sex worker? Things are always perfect in a relationship until they're not. Your boyfriend is showing you his true colors right now, listen to him. My 22M, GF, 21F, is pretending to be a virgin. My girlfriend lost her virginity with her ex-boyfriend when she was 18. It wasn't a good relationship by any means. They were incompatible due to various reasons and pretty toxic towards each other, and he certainly isn't a good person by any means. She hated her first time. They only had sex once, because it was painful and he wasn't very loving. He even made some disparaging comments about her body. I told her that I don't mind at all that she is not a virgin, but of course she still heavily regrets it. Around a week ago I made a joke about her not being a virgin. We've been having sex for over a year, and she responded something like, "You're the reason for that after all." A few days later the same thing happened when she told me that she was a virgin before she met me. I understand why she does this, and a part of me is flattered that she would have wanted me to be her first, but I can't help but get an uneasy feeling about it. It might be because I'm a very honest person, but it feels like a delusion to me. At which point should I be concerned about her? Edit. Thanks a lot for the feedback. I wasn't going to bring it up to her and you reassured me about that. I'll try not to worry about it too much and play along. Since a few people have slightly misunderstood, she doesn't not count it as losing her virginity. The way she said it was implying that she actually never had sex before she met me. It had something to do with pregnancy. To everyone saying virginity is a social construct, I feel the same way and I've expressed this to her previously. Edit 2. I can't believe it needs to be said, but I know my girlfriend's humor and I can assure you that she didn't take my joke in a bad way. We are immature 20-year-olds and make dumb, corny sex jokes all the time. Side note, if you believe saying someone is not a virgin is offensive, you should really check which side of the fence you are on, because in my opinion not being a virgin is not a bad thing and shouldn't be treated as an insult. You shouldn't worry about this at all. She had sex one time and it was awful, so why would you want her to remember? It's unimportant. If it helps her move past a traumatic experience, let it be. This white lie probably has nothing to do with you, and more to do with the fact that she doesn't want to remember her first time anymore. I wouldn't think too much about it. She's not lying to you, she's lying to herself. It could also be that it wasn't consensual. He guilted/forced her before she was ready, hence she described it as painful and him not loving, and therefore it would be rape and not sex. This would really make sense. Virginity is a socially constituted concept and in my opinion it's more of a mental thing than physical. If the first time with current BF was loving, consensual and felt like sex, then she can absolutely count it as her first time without it being a lie. Edit. Just wanted to add how infuriating it is when men think penises have some type of power and by simply inserting one you aren't a virgin. And the fact that virginity is seen as pure and desired. The more I think about it, the more I think virginity should stop being a concept. Especially when thinking of all the people who've experienced rape and get shamed by society for it. Children who get raped and have to see themselves as tainted and never being able to have a good first time. Fuck all of that, man. Instead of virginity we should tell each other this is the most connected and loved I've ever felt. With each person we meet there's always a chance we feel a deeper connection. That way it's nothing that can be forcefully taken away from us. Instead it can only be improved. I kinda get it. Her first time was far from anything she imagined and it seems that she got that with her first time with you. so now she considers that her first time. While my first time having consensual sex, I was raped, but since I didn't consent I don't like thinking of it as my first time. Wasn't traumatic, it was definitely far from ideal. Lasted 10 seconds and I didn't even know it was in yet. Best sex ever for him, his first time too, and I didn't realize what happened till it was over. So my first 2 sexual experiences were not something I wanted to remember or ever recount. We broke up, for other reasons, lot of issues, and years later I ended up with my now boyfriend of over 2 years. The first time we had sex was absolutely amazing. It completely changed my view on sex. My partner knows and why I consider it my first time. It was the first time I enjoyed it. I'm assuming it's the same way for your partner. Is my 24F neighbor 27F into me, or is she just being friendly? How do I know if she's gay? Update post is now locked. I can't believe so many people were interested in us. Thank you again for your support, comments and messages. Hi all, I can't believe I'm asking for advice from a bunch of strangers on the internet, but I don't really have anyone I can talk to about this. Sorry for the incoming essay, but I guess I need to give history. I bought my first house in September last year. It was an odd time, but everything just fell into place. It's quite a small village and everyone is really friendly, so I got to know my neighbors soon after moving in. Yes, socially distanced. Then I met my over-the-road neighbor, let's call her L. I can't describe it, but it's the first time I've ever met someone and been lost for words, and my heart was racing and just thought you know? So after I blushed my way through a welcome to the village type convo, we only saw each other for a wave and hello for a few days. To help kinda settle in, I had my dog, B, with me for the first few weeks. During this time there was a massive increase in dog thefts in a nearby town, not just from gardens but literally wrestled away from people. If I'd have been working, furloughed off and on since March, then I would have taken B back to mum's, but since I was home with her all day she stayed. So the local police advised to not walk dogs alone, but we go out twice a day, a 10k run in the morning and a few miles walk in the evening. So obviously this scares me, but at the same time she's honestly a pain in the ass and gets upset if she doesn't go for a run and needs to be tired out, so I'm kind of stuck at this point. Then along comes L. She knocked on the door and offered to come with us as she'd seen B and me in the evenings, and everything kind of spiraled from there. I told her about my morning runs, but she didn't really bite, so I thought nothing of it. Then a few days later I bumped into her on a run, so she started joining us on those too. A few months later and we are spending more and more time together every day. It has now progressed to a run early morning, afternoon coffee, dinner most evenings, and then the evening walk. It just seemed to happen without me really noticing. I didn't read into things that much, as I don't want to get my hopes up and ruin anything, until another neighbor commented about how much time we spent together and how it's nice to see you young gals getting on, and winked. He actually winked at me. I asked her what she meant, but she just laughed and said, "You know what I mean." So now I'm looking back on things and wondering if she could like me too. Here's some reasons why she might like me. I went running along the same route at the same time for nearly 2 weeks before I happened to run into her a few days after I told her this. I make her a coffee every afternoon, L is WFH, and take it over in her fave mug. She says I make good coffee, but I'm pretty sure I saw a fancy coffee machine the first time I went round. It's not there now. L carried on running and walking with me even after B went home. I told her she was going back to mum's and she said, "Well, I'll have to make another excuse to join you," and then we just carried on every day. She has tried really hard to bond with B. He is a very anxious dog and is scared of everyone except me and mum. L bought special treats to give her every day and has been so amazing with her and never tried to force anything. When I asked her, she said it's important to me that she likes me and is comfortable. B actually fell asleep between us on the sofa yesterday and it just makes my heart skip a beat, guys. She invited me to the Zoom quiz she does with her friends every fortnight or so, and they were all like, "Oh, so this is who we've heard so much about." we realized we had become each other's support bubble. Elle asked if I was meeting anyone else and I said no. She said she was glad she had me all to herself. We gave each other quite personal Christmas presents. Like, it actually made me tear up, it meant so much to me. And she bought stuff for B! Exclamation mark. Reasons why she might not like me. All the reasons above, but that she's just doing them because she's a fucking great person and we're friends. It might sound dumb but I'd kinda need your help guys. She is just the most incredible person I have ever met and I really like her, but if she isn't gay or doesn't feel the same, I don't want to lose her friendship as she has become such a huge part of my life. I genuinely have no experience with these kind of things as I went to quite a strict all-girls school, so it's not as if there were any relationships around me as a teen, and then I went to a very small uni, 8 of us on my course. I guess another reason is that I've struggled with anxiety and depression for the past 10 years, as well as my weight and working on my self-confidence, but I can say that right now I am the happiest and healthiest, both mentally and physically, I have ever been. I've only just really become comfortable with the fact that I'm gay and I have never really told anyone in real life, but I don't think people would be too surprised lol. I don't have any close friends as no one stuck around when I was really struggling with my MH a few years ago, so I can't discuss this with anyone Earl. So I need your advice. How do I find out if she is gay? And no, I don't have the confidence to just ask. What if she says no and I ruin everything? She has never mentioned anything about past relationships and I'm pretty tactless, so not sure how I could naturally slip it into the convo. Like, hey, tell me, have you ever had a girlfriend? Do you want one now? Lol. And how can I make a move without really making a move so I don't ruin things? Too long, didn't read. Don't know whether my neighbor is gay and into me or is just really friendly. How can I make a move without ruining our friendship? Edit. Okay guys, thank you so much for all your support and encouragement. You've all given me a lot to think about. I think I'm going to casually slip some gay stuff into conversation and see how she reacts. Then bring up the neighbor's comment like some of you suggested, seeing as though the neighbor was heavily implying that we're gay. I'll do it tonight, otherwise I'll talk myself out of it again. I will post an update to let you know what happens. Eek. If you never hear from me again, assume it went badly and I am consoling myself with cake and watching Brokeback Mountain in floods of tears.